All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. I'm your host Billy, and I have my co-host with me, Wale. What's up, bro? How are you?
I think my shirt pretty much defines what type of trading day we had today.
If you were asleep under a rock, man, and you had a call or something like that, you probably woke up to a sea of red. You know what I mean? And man, I've seen a lot of people kind of post like how like yesterday and the week before we just saw a lot of like calls on this SPX and SPY and QQQ and Nasdaq and all this stuff. They saw a lot of flow coming in for calls for this week. And bro, outside of yesterday, that was the only day we had a call. We had a good
No, Monday.
Monday. I'm sorry, Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, Monday was a good day. Yesterday was a pretty decent day, and then today we pretty much just gave it all back. So,
Yeah, we
let
gave
me
it all the way back. Yeah, yeah. So let me just give a quick rundown of what happened today. Today is Wednesday, March 26th. Man, we see some declines today. So S&P 500 dropped down by like 1.1% or something like that. Dow Jones also fell by 0.3%. NASDAQ got whooped. NASDAQ got his butt whooped. It was down like almost 2%, by the time the market was closed. So Nasdaq was down because if you see a lot of the stocks that's actually the top 10 in Nasdaq, like Nvidia, Tesla, all of those, they were down. You know what I mean? So that kind of dragged Nasdaq even further down, right? On top of that, we have the concerns over the new tariffs that Mr. Trump announced. The add on top of the negative sentiments, and then yeah, I just think that the talk around tariffs was like it was just it sent the market to the other way. And then on the other hand, we saw some GameStop. GameStop was up like 16% today at one point, and because they're trying to incorporate Bitcoin into the investment strategy, right? So that's one thing they're trying to do. So that kind of like shot their stock up a little bit. Also, I saw Dollar Tree was up too in pre-market. I don't know what happened after the market, but in pre-market, they were up because they actually announced they're selling its Family Dollar brand. I wonder who they're selling it to, but they're selling they're selling their Family Dollar brand to somebody else. So I don't know who's gonna
yeah,
buy them.
I
Um,
think it was a private equity firm that's buying them, but I
mhm.
just want to let people know that's not good news. I mean, it's good news possibly, but considering that they paid 10 billion for it and then sold it for 1 billion,
1 billion.
they basically took
They
a
took a huge
nine
L.
billion dollar loss in 10 years.
They took a
So
huge L, man. They're
yeah,
probably like,
huge.
we're burning all this money. Let's just go ahead and
Yeah,
man, that's crazy.
let's cut
That
our
is
losses.
that is crazy. On the commodities front, copper was up today. Again, based on the import tariffs that's going to be put on metal and all that stuff, they went up a little bit today. So we also saw oils and gold future kind of went up a little bit today. Bitcoin was up a little bit, but overall, the outlook on the U.S. stock market, it's not looking good coming up. You know what I mean? I forgot who was it, like HSBC did
Eh,
downgrade the outlook.
Yeah, HSBC and Barclays said U.S. markets sell.
Yeah, pretty much hit the button now. But again, it is in those moments when people are panicking, and we repeated this over and over and over. When people are panicking, again, this might be another opportunity to deploy a little bit of that cash reserve we talked about. So if you were deploying 10%, 5% at a time, as you can see, you get more opportunities to keep deploying more and more. So yeah, man. But I just want to get your opinion on a lot of those things. We have some topics we're gonna cover, but I just want to get your opinions on that.
Yeah, the way I look at it is obviously I think we've been beating the hammer on this one. You're just gonna have to expect volatility. This is why we
Mm-hmm.
keep saying don't try to time the bottom. Don't try to think that you're gonna get in all in at the bottom because you never know what's really going to happen over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So I think for the first half of this year, we just have to accept the fact that we're just going to be dealing with these gyrations on a day-to-day basis based on headline news. I don't think there's anything we can do now to sort of avoid that. Um, you've got downgrades in the US market. And as long as we have the threat of headline news, you're just gonna have to tiptoe around what side of the
Yeah.
market you want to be
Yeah.
on. So we made significant progress on QQQ Monday and Tuesday. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty decent moves to the upside. We got above the 200 EMA. We were approaching the 200 SMA, and then we lost all momentum after that. And I think
Right.
on SPY, I think we got above both.
Yep.
So yeah, SPY got above the EMA and the SMA, and then got rejected at near the 200 SMA. And
SMA.
right now it's sitting right at the 200 EMA. So to me, 576 is a level that SPY needs to get above,
Mm-hmm.
where I feel that the rally could possibly continue. Until we get above 576, I'm going to take any sort of upside move with a grain of salt. Now, we're still call it flat slash slightly positive on the week, but the headline news that we got about the auto tariffs is not helping the cause for anybody who's bullish on this market.
Right.
So,
Right.
with that being said, I will say if you're a bull, you can look at two things as I call it a positive omen. Number one, let's just say the week ended today, right? I will say we made a higher high and
Yep.
potentially could put in a higher low for the week. That's not a bad omen. Now, does that mean that we're going to be headed higher? Not necessarily, but we're starting to gain momentum for a trend that could be pushing to the upside. Whether or not that gets disrupted by headline news, we don't know.
Yep.
NVIDIA was a really, really big drag today on
Big time.
the market because I think it started off mostly as a tech sell-off. Like it was just
Mm-hmm.
technology that was kind of hurting. Then I think I was posting in the group. Once I saw RSP lose all his gains, I was like, yeah, this is going to spill over to the other sectors. Next thing you know, we just started heading lower.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and it looks like Nvidia is just getting in the crosshairs of just politics, about blocking their chips going to China
China. Yep.
because in this whole AI arms race, everybody's like, we can't let China outdo us. And to hinder their progress, we're going to stop NVIDIA from selling their best performance chips. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, it's gonna to me it's gonna be one of those, I think the whole first half of this year, we're just gonna be seeing lots of this. And I want to commend you for being spot on because the VIX ran
Mm.
right into that bullish fair value gap. And next thing you know,
Just turn back around.
turn
Those
back
those
around.
gaps, those gaps are very important. Unless you invalidate it completely, and we just close through it, it's always gonna hold, right? So,
Yeah. So you gotta be mindful of those levels. So
mhm.
um
But even on SPY, if you guys look on SPY, or there's to be the daily or the weekly, I mean the daily. The dailies probably have it more obvious. We have um a gap there that needs to be filled, right? And we have a fair value gap. So those two kind of are together right now. So we are actually in that gap right now, in that
mhm.
fair value gap, and inside of the gap. So if we go down to 564 and we bounce from there, we might be good. But we are sitting in that bullish fair value gap right now. So tomorrow we'll see if it's a favorable one and we go ahead and reverse from here. Maybe there's some orders so that we can kind of fill and go back to the upside, or we might follow through on the weekly. The weekly does not look nice, y'all. The
Yeah,
weekly looks horrible.
the only thing I'll say right now, I'm looking at ES futures right now. So the 200 EMA was resistance. Let me see what days were those. Going back to 317, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 20. Yeah. So we wicked off the 200 EMA on ES three times last week.
Yep.
We broke above it this week, and right now, since futures have opened, we are sitting right above it.
Right over
So
there. Yep.
if it holds, potentially, we could still see more progress to the upside. But I would not hold my breath because, again, you don't know what headline is just going to disrupt everything from
Right.
falling apart. So,
Right. And plus, we have Liberation Day on April 2nd. I mean, I still don't know what the hell that means, but hey, we about to find what happened April 2nd. Either we're gonna get like the market is gonna go up like crazy, or we're gonna have a crazy sell-off. You know what I mean? So it looks like they're preparing for something on April 2nd. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's gonna be a big announcement on even bigger tariffs. I don't know if it's gonna be, making a deal with some people. I don't know. I don't know what it's gonna be, but
that and to me, until we get some sort of clarity on that, you know,
yeah, it's just
I
it's
it's somebody. I think somebody called it tariff roulette.
yeah,
Tariff roulette. Like you spin the wheel and you just see where it lands, and no one can make any sort of predictions based on what you can expect from a technical analysis
right,
standpoint.
right,
So
right. And what you said still hold true. It's like it doesn't matter what technical analysis you have. If the news come out, guess what? Everything goes out the window.
yep,
Like all your technical analysis, all your levels just goes out the window because
yeah,
now you got to reevaluate all your plays again. So
yeah. So headlines, technical analysis.
yeah, pretty much. And the problem is you never know when it's gonna come out. For me, it's
No.
like I'm always watching, whether it's to be Twitter or X, watching the news and see like as soon as I see like some politician speaking, especially like if it's somebody from the Trump cabinet, I'm like
Hmm.
automatically listening, like, okay, what's happening? What are they saying? What's changing? You know what I mean? So keeping
And
an
then
eye on
we
that.
we also had a couple Fed speakers that
Yeah.
spoke today, and they
Mm-hmm.
were really hawkish.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nothing anybody said from the Fed today was positive, and they are saying that we need to know what the direct impact of tariffs are going to be
Exactly.
until we get clarity on that, we have no
Nope.
idea what
Nope.
is going to happen.
Nope. And we can't be guessing either. We can't
Yeah.
be out here just like, oh, let's, you know, raise the rate or drop the rate, or we can't do that. Like
Mm-mm.
you have to wait and see. I'm with them on that one, man. I'm like, I want to know. Shoot, forget the Fed.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Like I said before, they cannot afford to cut and then re-raise. You cannot afford to
No,
do that.
absolutely not.
So, yeah, I am I am still, how should I put it? I guess I'm sort of neutral until we get clarity on the second.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll just this first half, all of the data points, I guess, let's just say going from April 2nd all the way until, let's just say, the end of June, just first half
Yeah.
of this year. Every single data point is going to be very, very, very important. Unemployment, PCE, CPI, PPI, all of those things are going to be important. And the thing that sucks is that tariff policy can just change overnight, like
Yep.
at the drop of a dime. So how you prepare for that, you can't. There's no way to prepare for that. So yeah, we'll see how everything plays out. But right now, it's just one of those things where you have to be, I guess, you have to be prepared for both sides. So
Yeah,
I was
man.
in a trade today, and I outstayed my welcome a little bit too long, and handsomely paid the price for that.
Yeah, man. I guess it's one of those stick and go. Like when you take profit and you go. It is so hard to keep up with all the news that's coming out. It's very,
Hmm.
very, very hard. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you can watch the level all you want. You can do all that stuff, but like I said, if the news comes out, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing that I feel like we talked about this when it comes to AI bubble, right? And the reason why I say we talked about this is AI is great, but until you figure out what's a good use case for it, you only have a technology. You know what I mean? Imagine having a car sitting in your driveway. Like like a brand new car, but you don't have the keys and you don't have the direction to go to where you need to go. Like you can't go anywhere. There's no use for it. It's this beautiful shiny car, but if you don't have the key for it, it's just sitting there. You know what I mean? AI have found some use so far, but there's not that one use that like everybody's like, oh my god, this literally have changed everything right now. We haven't seen that, right? When AI first came out, people was like, "Oh, it's going to replace a lot of software engineers, blah blah blah," and ChatGPT is doing so much. No, then they found out ChatGPT actually makes errors, it makes mistakes. So it still need a human factor to be able to be involved in, to be able to, whether it's to be fixing the codes, whether to be asking them, asking ChatGPT to fix certain things, right? You still need that human aspect for it. We still haven't found a good use for AI just yet. So are we in an AI bubble or are we in an AI where nobody knows what to do with it? So people are just like, maybe it's time to move on from it. We didn't think it's gonna be this thing right now. Nobody have figured out the use case for it just yet. That's gonna impact everyone just yet.
To me, the way I look at it is there are some companies that will build out use cases that they'll need on a regular basis. Because remember, AI gets smarter as it's being used.
Mm-hmm.
So the more it learns as it progresses. The problem with some of the AI technology is that sometimes it just basically just takes orders and it doesn't have the ability to reason like a human can, like a
Yeah.
human can reason.
Yep.
So people are saying that until it has the ability to reason like a human, it's going to take some time for it um, to really learn how to replace people entirely. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that we're there yet. Alibaba's Joe Tsai said that we are in an AI data center bubble.
Mm.
Microsoft is also pulling out of some data center leases that they had. So, is there an oversupply of AI use cases? Possibly. Like I said, who was that? Jensen Wong, I think that was at the GTC conference, said that there's a $1 trillion addressable market in the construction of AI data centers and all of that stuff. And like I said, I'm not saying that that's impossible. That's a very big number. Whether or not it's overstated or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Right.
But everybody who claims that they use AI, there will be some companies that will have to cut spending on AI use cases because
Yep.
either it doesn't support their business, it doesn't help their margins, and if there's no profitability that comes out of that, some of these companies are going to have to just cut that loose.
Yep.
So
Yep. 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 Yep.
I wouldn't call it a bubble, but can it be slightly overstated? I think so. You know, that's not an impossibility.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think bubble might be a little bit aggressive, calling something a bubble, because when something's a bubble, to me, I think of things where there's fabrication, right?
Yes.
Where there's really like, how should I put it? You're kind of just building value out of thin air. Kind of like we had with the mortgage crisis, where
Mm-hmm.
people were getting loans without showing income.
Yep.
To me, that's a bubble. During the dot-com boom, we had companies that were going public or who were valued at, XYZ that really had no profitability or even any revenue.
Nothing.
That's a bubble. So to me, in this AI arms race, when you look at the big players, all of these companies have revenue. NVDA, Microsoft, Amazon, like Broadcom, TSMC, like all of these companies have revenue. They're not fictitious. The only thing that I will sort of question is when you start to forecast what the demand will be like over the next 5 or 10 years, are they overstating what it could be? That's a possibility.
Yep.
That's a very possible thing that they could be saying, okay, it's $1 trillion that we're expecting over the next 3 to 5 years. Maybe it's only 700 billion.
Yeah,
Maybe they
yeah,
overshoot
yeah,
it by 300 billion, or maybe it's only 800 billion. So that's a very realistic possibility that they could be overstating the use cases. So we're just going to have to wait and see.
yeah. At the end of the day, money talks, right? It's like if you cannot show me that you making money off of this investment, whatever, what's the point of having it? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but I always go back to the use case. I always think about the healthcare world where you have to prove that your technology is able to one be easily to be adopted and
Hmm.
people are actually going to find a good use case for it and then they want to see the return for it.
Yes.
If those things do not match, a lot of times in the healthcare world, even though they move slow, they do a lot of research on the technology before they implement it, right?
Hmm.
And I haven't seen a company in the healthcare world that's was able to find a good use case for AI just yet, right? So finding a good use case is one thing, and then adoption of that use case is another thing. So it's like, okay, so one of the best example I can give you, internet. When the internet first came out, it took a little while to convince people to say that this is really a great thing. But once
Hmm.
people got it, I mean, we live in a world right now where we probably some people alive right now cannot remember the days before internet. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Before you had internet and all this stuff. Another thing you think about is cell phones, right? You
Hmm.
have to prove adoption. Once people adapt to it, it took off. Like you don't really have to like do a lot with it. And it's because they have found a use case. They have found that with cell phones, like who wants to walk around with wires hanging around and running around the house, right? Like if you think about it back in the day, if you watch those old movies, the home phone had like this long cable. You can walk around the house with it, right? But they found that people would actually rather not be tied to a cable or to a line, the phone line. So cell phones came around, right? So people when you find the adoption and the use case and people are able to take that and run with it, AI become a lot better. But I still can't put my finger on what is gonna be that thing that not only companies but regular people will be able to adopt AI. Because you can have companies adopt AI, but you like regular people like you and I. What is the use case for you and I to be able to use AI on a regular basis every single day and not be able to live without it? I mean, you have your phone in your hand all the time. Like people go crazy when they can't find their phones. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So can we get to that level of adoption when it comes to AI? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be. I think we can, but I just don't know what's that solution going to look like.
Yeah, I think at some point we will. I just don't. I think Jensen Wong said $1 trillion by 2028. That's 3 years from now.
Yeah.
To me, it might take a little bit longer than that because the way I look at artificial intelligence as far as use cases, especially from a company standpoint, is creating a system based on data and the ability to reason to give proactive suggestions. I
Mm-hmm.
think right now AI is still very reactive,
Yep.
right? It's very reactive. Basically, you need to initiate the prompts or you need to initiate, give it the instructions in order for it to sort of um, give you what you want.
Yep. So there needs to be a trigger. Like there has
Correct.
to be a trigger. That's okay. Yep.
So once it gets to a point where it's able to reason, where it can kind of again be proactive to say, okay, I see what type of trajectory you're on, right? Let me give you suggestions before you can even come up with them.
Mhm.
That to me is still going to take a lot of time. So I don't know. I think that there'll be a lot of use cases. I think there'll be some companies who might overstate their adoption. I always go back to this stock, UPST, Upstart. They're a financial company, and they said they were touting that they use AI to um, what's the word, to sort of screen loan applications and to decide
Mm,
what type of. Go look at that stock.
yep.
Right, that was a $400 stock that's probably trading well under $100. companies like that probably aren't going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to me, I still think there's a huge learning curve, and
Yes.
companies are still learning what do we need it for, how are we going to use it,
Yes.
and
Yes.
until you find, like you said, a repeatable process in your business model that either cuts out humans completely and you
Mm-hmm.
can just rely on AI. And I'll even say this, I don't even know if you can cut out humans completely
You can't.
unless
You can reduce.
you
I
can
think.
reduce. Exactly. I think
Yep.
you can reduce, but to cut out humans completely, like I said, I don't know if we are there yet because, again, AI does not have the ability to reason. AI has the ability to take instructions and to give you results.
Yep.
So how long it will take until it's able to reason, I don't know.
The
So
problem is, do we even want it to get to that point? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I mean,
do
you
we
got
want
people.
AI to get to that point?
I mean, you got people who are about to own these Tesla
Bruh,
robots
bruh.
in their
Like,
house. So I
I
don't
mean,
know. I
we,
don't know.
we saying it, and it's funny right now, but I was like, I promise you, man, it's like when people start having robot as a regular thing in their house, or AI is becoming this thing where now it can reason, it can make decisions, it can make a series of independent decisions and
Mhm.
execute upon those decisions
On its own.
on
Exactly.
its own.
Exactly.
We gonna be in deep shit.
So,
Like,
like, I look at it like this. Let's just say that you've got an AI robot, right? It's in your house. You have
mhm,
tasked it with you give it instructions to say, you know, I want you to load my dishwasher you know, at dinner time, right?
mhm,
So you give those instructions repeatedly. Then it gets to a point where it's kind of like, okay, you've given me these instructions between 5 and 7 p.m. every day for the last 2 weeks. Now I'm going to just do it without you telling me.
yeah,
So it's able to start reasoning because, again, let's just assume that you get back from work, you eat dinner, you're done with dinner at, let's say 6 to 7 p.m. every single day.
mhm,
And you tell the AI bot, load the dishwasher, load it. And after about a month, you don't even have to tell it anymore. And then the robot just automatically does it. That's when AI gets to a point where it starts to reason on its own.
mhm,
So
hmm.
I don't think we're there yet. And again, I don't know if I wanted to get there yet. So, you know,
Man, it's going to be interesting. The
yeah, we'll
immediate,
see. We'll see how it plays out.
yeah, you mentioned it. The immediate use case for AI that I can see right now is probably those autonomous vehicles. Like, I think that's probably like one of the most immediate one that I can
Hmm.
see, right? Because they still got to make a serious decision based on certain triggers, right? So it's like
Hmm.
they're still going to use that. I think that's probably going to be the most fast implementation of AI in autonomous vehicles.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably going to happen a lot faster than anything. But for me, overall, though, like when I think about AI, I was like, what is you still need adoption from your population, right?
Correct.
Companies can adapt those things, but if companies are only adopting these things, they're only doing it with one thing in mind, either to make their business better, faster,
More efficient.
reduce their labor costs, right?
Hmm.
But let's say a company like a company like NVDA, where it's like, okay, it's gonna come a time where we made this chip 1,000 times faster, right? Where is our next revenues gonna come from?
Hmm.
How are we gonna continue to make money now? Right? I mean, so it's like there needs to be a use case where regular people like you and I can use this thing on a regular basis. I think for me, that's where we're gonna see the revolution of AI, when regular people can use AI. And like you mentioned, it might be those robots. Like those might be the next phone or the next internet that we need. So it's it still remains to be seen. That's all I can say. Now,
Yeah.
what companies are gonna actually be in the top maybe 4 or 5? I think it's still gonna be Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia. Like I don't think it's gonna be any other outside companies. You know what I mean? I don't think it's gonna be like a company just like came out of nowhere and we're like, okay, we're doing AI right now. So I think it's gonna be those top 5.
Yeah, to me, I think the human use case for AI, at least for right now,
Mm-hmm.
I look at my situation. I use AI to scrub a lot of data. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, I'm building a model portfolio, right? So as I'm building the portfolio, I like to use AI to give me historical risk adjusted returns based on the
Mm-hmm.
investments that I'm putting in that portfolio. So I can go into Chat GPT and say, okay, take this blend of ETFs, right? And compare it on a risk adjusted basis to SPY or QQQ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can say, okay, this is the number that I get. And let's just say I don't like that number. I can then tell the AI to say, okay, tilt the tilt the portfolio where the risk, what allocation over these, let's just say 3 or 4 ETFs will give me a risk adjusted return that either beats or meets the returns of SPY over the last 5 or 6 years or 5 to 10
Mm-hmm.
years. It'll scrub that data for me. I don't have to go in and start plugging in like, okay, let me try 60% here, 30% here, 50%. Like, I don't have to do that. The AI will spit it out for me. And what I've started to notice is as it knows the trajectory of what I'm kind of looking at, it'll do it for like 5 years and it'll say, okay, do you want me to give you the same data over 10 years?
Right, right, right.
Then it'll ask me, you are aiming for a yield or a return of XYZ percent. Do you want to, you want me to give you a higher risk level of the portfolio and see if it beats it? So it's starting to do that. And I think for us, again, scrubbing data,
Mm-hmm.
AI can make it much easier
Faster.
for you to do that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's one thing that I use it for a lot because as I'm building this model portfolio, a lot of the data that I need, I don't have to go on the internet or go to like Morningstar and print all this stuff, plug it in. Like it'll even give you tables.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So yeah,
See, but that's what I mean though. It's like your use case is very specific, right? Like
correct.
it's
Yes.
very specific and it's very task oriented. Like it's focused on a specific sector.
Hmm.
So um when I think about you like AI use case for like the general population, it needs to be something that it just in the morning. What has to be like? I wake up in the morning and you know Jarvis from Iron Man. Like you just get up and talk to Jarvis. Hey Jarvis, go make me some coffee. Jarvis like, okay, how was your day? How did you sleep? You know all that stuff. Like let's talk about the day. You got this going. You got this going. I think you should do this. Like kind of like you say, when they become more interactive, when they become more, you don't need a trigger. You don't need a action for
Correct.
them to start doing.
Correct.
Like you know what I
Yep.
mean. So yeah, man, I think we need a Jarvis.
And to me, I wouldn't be surprised if we get there in the next 10 years.
Yes, yes.
I would not. I
I
would.
think when we get there, that's literally is gonna be. I think that's gonna be the bigger use case because not anybody can have a AI at their house and they be able to speak to it, be able to generate ideas, be able to have conversation with them, be able to kind of like
Hmm.
learn about the family and all those different things. Again, I don't know if I want us to get there. Like that shit
And
sounds scary.
I think that's what Amazon is trying to do with Alexa.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I think that's what Amazon is trying to do with Alexa. Yeah.
Speaking of Alexa, Amazon losing a lot of money on Alexa. I don't know if you guys know this, but yeah, they're losing a lot of money on Alexa. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, Alexa was first made to be sold with their, that device that they have that you can buy a home and put like a home, whatever,
Hmm.
and be able to order product using Alexa. Hey, Alexa, put this in my cart and all this stuff. But what they found out is shopping on Amazon using commands is very difficult. Because go to there, go type and say, hey, I want to order. Can you order me a size 11 shoes? I mean, you're gonna get a tons of lists. So what Alexa was doing is actually listing every single shoe option in the list. So literally go Nike shoes number this, color this, like reading the description and stuff. So that wasn't very user friendly. So they're losing a
Mm.
lot of money in that department, but I think they're also probably waiting on how can we make this technology better. So you're right, Alexa might become that person where that technology, in the case of Apple, it might be Siri, right? I don't know what does Android have. I don't even know what Android has, but in the case of Android, it might be whatever they have, to use for that stuff. So it's like, I think that's literally is going to be where we need to head in order to have like a public use case. Somebody like regular person can use it, not let's say like a financial advisor or somebody who works in healthcare, right? We need
Yeah.
somebody like a regular to use it, like everyday person, basically. So,
The one thing that I do, and I use Alexa for this, is like if there's a product you buy on Amazon,
mhm.
let's say a reoccurring product that you buy regularly, I like the fact that Alexa will remind you that, hey, you might
Yep,
be low on this.
yep,
Do you want me to put this in your cart? Because I buy my printer ink off Amazon.
nice.
So usually I'll get a notification from Alexa to say, hey, are you low on printer ink? Should I order some? And things like that. That to me could be a pretty good use case for Alexa. Like
Yep,
if
yep,
there's a product that you regularly buy, for Alexa, or with Amazon, how they got this whole drug delivery thing. So let's just say you're on a prescription and it will remind you to do your refills. Those I think will be use cases for Alexa that regular people can depend on and
yep.
kind of, to use it for. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how all of this plays out because, I'll be honest with you. If you go back to the age of the internet, I mean, who thought that we would use the internet the way we use the internet now 25
Exactly,
years ago?
exactly, exactly.
So, everybody was just, oh, surf the web, surf the web. Now, I mean, what can't you do on the internet now?
Yeah,
That's the
right.
question. So I don't know. I think we'll get there. I just don't know if we'll get there as quickly as everybody says we will, or if the addressable market is as big as everyone is projecting. It could be a little bit smaller, but we'll have to see how those projections are. But I wouldn't use the word bubble. I would just
Yep,
use the word, maybe it's a little bit overstated,
yep,
possibly. Yeah,
yep,
so we'll
yep,
see.
yep. Well, let's pivot to an IPO that's happening, man. I don't know. I don't know if I should be excited about this one or should I just be like, I don't know. So you mentioned CoreWeave and StubHubs. So
Hmm.
CoreWeave is a cloud computing company specializing in providing GPU accelerated infrastructure tailored for artificial intelligence. Again, AI workloads. They were founded in 2017. They initially focused on crypto mining. Oh wow, I didn't know that. Before pivoting to AI computing services, so that's kind of like the opposite of MSDR, where
Mm.
MSDR went from focusing on software and all the stuff to crypto mining, and now they're doing crypto mining to AI computing service. So talk a little bit about that. Are you excited about that? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like the business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the financials
Okay.
because from what I read, if I'm not mistaken, they make about 2 billion in revenue annually,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also paying about 1 billion in interest on their debt.
On the loan, God.
So that's not something that I would like to see from a
Interesting.
financial standpoint. So either you have to really accelerate your revenue or you need to refinance your debt to me to make it more of an attractive business. Will they figure it out? I probably will say yes, but I don't know if I would be an initial buyer right away just based on those metrics. I think that that's a little bit high for my liking. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that they're profitable just yet. And I'm not saying I want to wait until they're profitable, but $1 billion in interest, whew,
That's a lot.
that's hefty because that's half your revenue that you're making is going to interest payments.
Yeah.
So you don't have a lot of, not saying you don't have a lot of money. Let's just say, after taxes and all of your expenses, my question is, how much money do you have to reinvest in your business? So if they start to grow their revenue, so let's just say their revenue goes from 2 billion to like 4 billion to 5 billion to 6 billion, and the interest kind of stays level or decreases, then I'd be more interested in the business. But we'll see how it plays out. But
Yeah.
I know that's a highly anticipated IPO because of
Yep.
the space that they play in. Um, but yeah, I will be watching them, but I would not, me personally, I would not be a buyer right
Of
on
that.
the IPO. No, I'd
The,
wait.
uh, the other one is StubHub. I know a lot of people probably know what StubHub
Hmm.
is. It's an online ticketing exchange platform. The bet you buy, you can buy and sell entertainment tickets for events. So StubHub was created in 2000. Wow, I didn't know that long.
Oh yeah, they've been around for a long time.
Been a marketplace for sports, concert, theater, and other live entertainment tickets. So they also are planning on going in IPO. There's really no specific date, but I think they did announce it. So I honestly thought like something like this, maybe like Ticketmaster or one of the event places would have bought them a while ago. You know what I mean? Because I don't know how big they are in terms of Ticketmaster and other events selling tickets and stuff.
And to me, there's so many of these third party ticket businesses out there. I mean, you've got TickPix, you got StubHub, you've got Game Time, you've got
Yeah.
Ticketmaster. There's so many. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know enough about that business to really make an informed investment. But what it kind of reminds me of is like the streaming business, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
when Netflix came out, everybody was like streaming, streaming, streaming,
Yep.
streaming.
Yep.
But Disney's lost a bunch of money on streaming. Um, I think Paramount has lost a bunch of money on streaming.
Paramount,
I
even
think
ESPN.
I think Netflix has been the only, like, that's the 800-pound gorilla in streaming.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the whole third party ticket master, I mean the whole third party like event ticket business. I mean, are those margins even like really good? Like, I
I
don't know.
don't know, man. I think they do exist a lot because I know I don't know if you remember where they did I think there was a lawsuit against Live Nations or Ticketmaster, one of them, like in regards to them like cornering the market and basically being a monopoly or whatever. And I think that's why you see
Mm,
a lot of those little tickets selling exchange exist because they didn't want like one giant company to basically
got
dominate the
it.
market. So that
Gotcha.
way, that means they can set the prices, right? They can go as high as they want. But yeah, I think that's probably one reason why.
Mm,
Um, but in terms of IPO, like I've always thought, like the people who make a lot of money during IPO are the early on investors. Like I feel like if you like an early on investor, you would make a lot of money. You know what
oh
I
yeah.
mean? Like I was reading today, like in Uber, there
Oh yeah, I saw
you
that.
saw that thing? Like I was like, oh my god! Like there's this one guy that invested what $5,000. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. They invested $5,000 or so. No, they invested. Yeah, this one guy, Mike Walsh, invested $5,000 in 2019 pre-IPO. His portfolio or his investment stands at $24.8 million. So if you were to sell today, that's how much it's worth on that $5,000, bro. Like that's crazy.
And this is the thing, and this is the thing that I don't like is, right, the private equity market is only really open to a select number of
Yep,
people, right?
yep. You got to make a certain amount of money.
Correct. You have to be what's called an accredited investor.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I hate is that they make it seem like, oh, you need to invest like a minimum of like 200,000 or 500,000. Like, you can, and I'm pretty sure that I don't know if he just cut a check of like 5,000. Maybe he pooled it with other investors and his share was only 5,000.
Yeah,
But yeah, the private equity market, to me, I keep saying this, it's the cheat code to keep rich
the rich
people
people richer. Yeah,
rich.
yeah, yeah,
And I know that there are platforms now that are trying to open that market up to more retail people where they kind of like, um there's a couple platforms out there where you can like be a retail investor. You go into this like, um it's like a marketplace where they list all the private investments and stuff like that, and then you can
mm-hmm.
invest. The fees are just super high. That's the
Yep,
problem. The
yep,
fees are super high.
yep.
And I know private equity has more of a longer holding time. Like, you put money into private equity, your hold time could be 10 years before
Yeah. Yeah.
you're able to like unload the shares. And typically, like look at StubHub, right? StubHub was created in 2000. They're just
2000.
now trying
Yeah.
to go public.
Right.
So that's 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, if there's no liquidity event, like someone buys them out or you don't go public, you might be holding
You might
these.
be stuck in there. Yeah.
Yeah, you might, unless someone else buys the shares off you in the private market as well. So,
Right. Right.
and I know for most people, right, a lot of people don't want to hold investments for 10 to 25 years. So I kind of get why what's the word? They're trying to limit the saturation of that market. But I mean, private equity, man, I'm telling you, if you can find the right company in that market in the early stages, like look at all the people that invested in like open AI, like super, super, super early, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like those people are probably sitting pretty and are probably just waiting for them to go public or some sort of liquidity event where they're going to unload a ton of their shares. And, you know, sometimes when companies go public, sometimes the public investors get like screwed. Like I'll give you an example, like Rivian, right? So as a
Yeah.
retail investor,
Yep.
Rivian IPO'd in what 2021, I think it was,
Yep. Yep.
somewhere around like 100 a share. So as a retail investor, I'm getting in at like 100, right? Someone who was a private investment investor in that company probably got in at like, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe $5. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I get in at 100. Where's Rivian trading at now?
It was like 12, $16, something like that.
$12, right?
$12. Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. I have my what's the word? My hate relationship with that. People were talking about how SPACs were supposed to kind of level the playing field, but then
That was a
people abuse that.
man.
People
That was
abuse that. A lot of rich people use that as a get rich quick type of scheme
yep.
where they were just looking to kind of, make a quick buck and unload unprofitable, businesses. But I don't know.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know,
What you
I
described just sound familiar with all these people, all these rich people coming up with their own coin, pumping it up, making 900,000, $1 million in a couple of hours, and just rug
the
pulling and yeah.
the meme coins, yeah.
Yep.
And if you fall for a meme coin after you've seen everything that's happened over the last couple of years, like
People still
you've
fall for
almost,
it, man.
I don't know how people still fall for it, but
Emotions. Nobody wants to miss out. Nobody wants to miss out.
somebody typed, Carlos Fernandez says, Mr. Wonderful owns Start Engine, which lets you invest in startups. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple platforms like that I've heard of where you can invest in like early stage companies. And I don't know, I know the minimums aren't always crazy, but I know the fees can be super high, super high. So, but as a retail investor, I think that if you can strike gold in the private equity market, man, some of those returns can be crazy if you
So,
can find the right business too, and you're patient.
yeah,
And
right,
you're
right. So for
patient.
some of these guys, they gotta wait for years. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And if that's the only money you have to put in this investment, guess what, man? It might be 10, 20 years. You probably eating ramen noodles or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you have to have a very long term investment horizon
Yeah.
if you're investing in private equity, because that's when you get the real payoffs. Now, some of them have short lifetimes. Like I look at the everybody talks about how Kobe made a whole bunch of money on body armor from his
Hmm.
private investment. Basically, Coca-Cola was just like, we don't take these guys out because they were probably threatened by their growing business. And they were like, we're not going to wait for them to go public. We're just going to buy them out.
Yep.
So sometimes you get a liquidity event way early before you actually, you know, are able to, before a company goes public. And if the majority of the shareholders say, hey, we got a really good offer on the business, we're going to sell the business to a bigger company, they get
Yep.
rid of it.
Yep. I mean, all these big companies do
So,
that, right? Apple, Amazon, Google, they all buy little companies all the time. And that's
mm-hmm.
that's that's a probably
Yeah.
a better
So,
way for
and I'm
buyout.
starting to see now. You're starting to see sports teams sell shares of their business to private equity firms.
Yep.
I think the San Francisco Giants, I just saw, they sold about 10% of their company of the business to a private equity firm.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So yeah.
I know for the
So,
sport for the sport team,
lots of
I know
go ahead.
for the sport teams, like some of those owners, even though they're worth like billions of dollars, it's only on paper.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's only on paper.
A
Like,
lot of their net worth is tied up to the actual team.
yes. So
Hmm.
it makes sense for them to be able to send like share, sell like, maybe 1%, 2% for whatever amount of money. I wonder if college is gonna start doing that.
People have been saying that. People have been saying that. People have been saying that. But the thing is, how do you do that in the college ranks when a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these college teams are public schools? They're not private schools.
Right.
You see? So
Yeah.
like UCLA is a public school,
Right. Right.
you know?
Yeah, it
So
makes sense in the case of NFL because was maybe like a
yes, private business. Yeah.
majority ownership,
Private business. Yep.
and they can
Sports
sell a
teams,
share.
yes. College, I don't know how that's gonna work.
Man,
Like, I don't know
I
how
don't know,
that's gonna work.
man. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they'll find something. Create like a portfolio or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. But I would not be surprised if we see some sort of like, you know, some sort of like system where there's a revenue share with private equity companies in these college teams because the kids are pros now pretty much at this point. So
Yeah, they get paid a lot of money, man. That's crazy.
yeah. So
But let's pivot to this foreclosures and all this crazy thing that's happening in the commercial real estate. So it looks like since COVID, the commercial real estate hasn't really been doing good because a lot of people haven't returned to the office. A lot of those owners, it looks like they are basically not paying their loans, not paying their leases. So you sent me something today where a property in Chicago was sold for, hold on, how much was it sold for?
it wasn't sold, but this is what the headline says. It says 27.4% of office buildings, and this is on the Black Millionaires Instagram page.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, yeah,
20,
yeah.
27.4 of the office buildings in Metro Chicago are worth less than the investors owe on the property. There's 223 buildings that are underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw another headline that says,
I think this one's for Atlanta.
this is in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and it says that there's a lot of distress in their commercial real estate market. And it says when you look at the delinquency rates of some of the most popular metro areas, Portland has a delinquency rate of 43%, Charlotte 36.2, Chicago 27.4, Denver 25.8, San Antonio 17, Houston 15.6. And if you look at the number of distressed properties, Chicago has the highest, Atlanta has 166. So we've been talking about this since last year.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's smoke, there is fire.
It's fire.
And I keep saying this. If we are going to see any type of recession or catastrophic financial event, the first place I will stick my nose is commercial real
Commercial.
estate.
Yep.
And I just do not know what it will take for the 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 final straw to break the business. I don't know what it's going to take because this is not new, right?
Right, right.
And somebody has to eat the losses on those loans. Somebody's got to eat them. And I go back to my list that I've had on my desk for the last couple of months. I mean, I look at this, I look at the Ameriprise Financial Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota,
Yep, that was a big
major
one too.
metropolitan area. was bought in 2016 for 200 million. It was recently sold for 6.25 million.
Somebody ate all of that.
So somebody ate that loss. And we're seeing now, based on this data, this is from the Atlanta Journal Constitution, that there are other big cities that are in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago is not a small city.
Nope.
They're saying there are 223 billion, no, 223 buildings that are labeled as distressed. And it says the balance of the distressed debt is 8.2 billion. You've got 5 billion of distressed debt in Philadelphia. You got 4.1 billion of distressed debt in Houston. So you add that up, that's 8 plus 5, that's 13 plus 4, 17 billion. You got another billion in Pittsburgh. You got another 2 billion in Atlanta. I mean, you got super high vacancy rates.
Yep.
So,
And you can draw a straight line from 2020 to what's happening right now, right? Because a lot of those companies that actually like a lot of those buildings that you see with the company's names or whatever, companies don't own those buildings, right? They lease that space and they get to put like their banner or whatever they have in there. Now, when COVID happened, they move everybody remote. So companies are like, we have this lease space on our balance sheet, nobody's using it. Let's go ahead and either cancel or just don't renew. You know what I mean? Or negotiate a lower rate. So guess what? People who are owning those buildings who still have to pay their loans, they can't pay them anymore.
and some of these commercial real estate deals, like you don't rent commercial real estate for like, 1 or 2 years. Like some of
No,
these leases might be
it's like
like
10,
30,
15, 20 years.
10,
Yeah.
15, 30-year leases.
Yep.
So, man, and to be honest with you, if we're not mistaken, I mean, WeWork could have been the precursor that kind of gave us an idea of what that was going to turn out to, because
Big
their
time.
business was built around leasing commercial space.
Right.
They couldn't get to IPO. They went public, I think, via SPAC, and still went
And still
bankrupt.
went bankrupt. But
So
they had a terrible CEO too. I don't know if you guys go watch that WeWork
yeah,
documentary.
he was selling. Man, what a salesman! What
Man,
a
my man
and
can talk.
that man can talk. And the crazy part is he still walked away with like they gave
Yeah.
him like $1 billion just to go away. They were like,
Yep.
we just want you to go away.
Yep. Yep. They paid him off, gave him a private airplane, and nobody heard or seen from him since. But yeah, I would say like, yeah, I mean, can you think about it though? Like how crazy that would have been in 2020 when COVID happened? If that, oh my God, that woo, like
Yeah,
for that to be your sole business,
yeah,
mm, yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy,
And I know
man.
SoftBank lost a lot of money that they put up in that in their investment.
Yep.
But I keep saying this. If we're gonna see any sort of big financial collapse, I'm telling you, there is smoke in the commercial
Mm-hmm.
real estate
Mm-hmm.
business. Because again, distressed assets in major cities and interest rates haven't come down. So nobody's trying to refinance right now.
Right.
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 So I
Mm-hmm.
like until we start to see major rate cuts and people are able to refinance, I don't know. I do not know. If I could short a business, right, and I could hold the business or hold the short position for the next 5 years, I would really look at commercial real estate as a possible short. So
I mean, we
I
might
will
have to
keep
do.
monitoring.
You might have to do what these guys in the Big Short did: create a.
Yeah, but see, they got access to that type of stuff. I don't got that type of access, man. I wish I did. I,
And on top of that, you got to keep covering your position in case you had those
that's correct.
months when he went up. You know, you got to come up with that money, otherwise they're gonna close you out. You know, so dang man.
Yeah. I will say this. What's today? March 26th?
Mm-hmm.
Keep monitoring commercial real estate, and we'll have to see how this story plays out. But I just don't, to me, it's not looking pretty.
No,
To me,
no.
it's not looking pretty.
You probably have to
So
short the whole REITs. You know, like
See, this is the thing. If you can find out the banks that are going to eat the losses on those loans, maybe you short those banks.
Yeah.
Maybe you short those banks. But finding that information, I even asked ChatGPT if it could find the information, and even ChatGPT couldn't find that information because I'm pretty sure not all of that is public. So, but yeah, keep watching commercial real estate, man. I am not pleased with what I've seen. I am not pleased with what I've seen there. So,
Yeah. But yeah, that's all. That's all we have, folks. Any advice going into the end of this week, tomorrow and then Friday? We have a lot of talks about tariffs. We have all this different, political stuff that's happening. The VIX is back up again. So yeah, any advice going into this week at all to help the folks out?
patience, patience. That is the name of the game.
Mhm.
I think we had a really good Monday, which again, I said last week Friday that I would be bullish going into April 2nd as far as, what to expect from the market.
Yep.
But I also said as long as we don't see any catastrophic headlines, and today we got a catastrophic
Yep.
headline around tariffs. And as long as the climate is quiet, the market seems to do fairly well. But the moment we get some sort of headline that disrupts, the calm waters of the market, we get what we saw today. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, patience. I will keep saying that dollar cost averaging will be your best friend. And like I said, as long as we don't make if we put in a second straight week of a higher high and a higher low, I'm not saying that the trend has changed, but it's a good omen on a technical basis.
Yep.
So my thing is we have to see what happens after the second. Like what type of liberation day
Liberation Day.
are we expecting to see as far as tariffs are concerned? The automakers, they look like they're going to have a rough time. Trump was also talking about how he's saying, well, if you take out a loan to buy an American made car, they're trying to find a way where you can write off the interest on that loan
Mm.
if you buy American made cars. I don't know if they're gonna allow Congress to pass that,
But how are
but
they gonna do that though? Like I feel like,
you just got to change the tax code. You change the tax code.
yeah, but at the same time, like people are living paycheck to paycheck. Who's gonna be out here trying to buy a brand new car?
I mean, it's probably gonna apply to used too. Just has to be American made.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're gonna have to, like, the way I'm seeing it. If people are defaulting on their credit cards, if people are
Hmm.
defaulting on their loans, the last thing people are gonna want to do is buy another car, even if you're
Yeah,
getting like your interest wrote off. You know what I mean? So I think all of this is just fluff. Like in my opinion, I feel like it's all fluff. Um, because this tariff thing is gonna hurt um a lot of American made cars.
hmm
Period. So they
and imports and
and import,
imports.
yeah, they have to come up with some way to talk to the president. We're like, hey man, you messing us up here. First of all, you put a tax, you put a tariff on Canada, put a tariff on Mexico. A lot of parts comes from Mexico. Some parts
Hmm.
come from Canada, right? And on top of that, you got tariffs on top of for China. Some of those parts come from China. So it's like it's impacting not just the um buying and selling of existing cars that's already made, but you impacting the production of new cars. You know what I mean? So you putting like a strain, like I feel like there's a pressure being put on the economy and the market to do something to move a certain direction. I'm not gonna say all my opinion on that, but I feel like there's a pressure being put on the market overall to move in a certain directions. And I don't think we hit that number yet. I don't think
So
we hit the number yet.
if I want to be a conspiracy theorist, right? This is my conspiracy. I feel that whatever the administration is trying to do, they want to force the Fed to cut rates. And if they cause enough chaos,
The Fed will do it.
the Fed will do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, to me, that's the end game. It is. if we create enough chaos in the market where we and unemployment goes up, um, or inflation is not going down.
Yep.
Like, to me, I almost feel like they're trying to force the Fed's hand.
Yep.
Like, that to me is the end game. We're going to do whatever we need to do to force the Fed to cut rates.
Yep. Yep.
And if that means forcing the economy into a recession, I
Then
kind of
be
feel
it.
like they're like, so be it.
Yep. Yep. I mean, you can kind of tell that that they're kind of alluded to it, right? Like, hey, in the short term, we're gonna
There's going to be
suffer.
some
There's
pain.
gonna be
There's going
some
to be some
pain.
pain.
So like they alluded to it, preparing people mentally for it. And I don't know, man. I just like there ain't no way you're gonna come out and say the same things day after day. And every time you come out, the market goes down.
Mm-mm.
Tariffs this, tariffs that. Let's down. We're not doing it. We're coming back. No, we dropping it. Oh no, we're pushing it. Like, you know what I mean? All these zigzags. At some point, I thought it was maybe like chaotic because they didn't know what they were doing. But I am convinced now that
That there's a plan.
there's a plan. Because ain't no way you're gonna come out looking like you don't know what you're doing in front of the whole country and the whole world, right? It's no way. It is absolutely no way somebody can come and do stuff like that to just be like people call like, oh, you don't know, you have no plan. There is a plan, and there is a certain pressure. There's a certain um load being put on the market to push the market to a specific number, and I don't think we hit that number yet because we're still talking about that. We're still talking about tariffs. We're still talking about um, pushing the market, in a specific direction. So until we get to that number, we're never going to see any positive talk about the market from the president.
And I think from what they are trying to imply, they're trying to imply that they're not really looking at the market. I
Come
don't
on,
know.
man.
I don't know if I believe that,
This is coming
but
from a businessman who, yeah, it's no. There is, like I said, there's a certain pressure being put on the market. Like, take
so
that with a grain of salt and
this
figure
is
that
this
out.
is this is my conspiracy theory. Trump biggest investments, right? His biggest investments are in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Trump wants to force the Fed to cut rates so that he can refinance his debt.
Hey, that's
that's
that's another one.
that's 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 my conspiracy theory. That is my conspiracy theory. Because if you look at all of these distressed assets in the commercial real estate, right? In the commercial
Yep.
real estate
Yep. Yep.
world,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure he's eating some of he's getting
Oh yeah,
he's
he's
not
feeling
happy with what he's seeing.
he's feeling the pain of that too.
I'm
He's
pretty
he's he's
sure.
definitely feeling the pain
Yeah,
of that.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So,
But at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell people this: do not bet against the U.S. stock market. In the long term, the stock market is gonna go back up. Do not
oh
bet on it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
So in the short term, like you say, like we will feel the pain a little bit, but I don't think we're at that point yet where we're gonna get some positive talk about the market just yet. I don't know what's the level we're gonna be pushed down to. I have no idea, but I don't think we're at that point yet.
And the thing is, we don't, again, the fact that we have nothing, the Fed has nothing. We have no idea how the tariff policy, like how it's going to show up in the data.
Yep.
At this point, it's a guessing game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guessing game. And when the market sniffs out uncertainty, this is kind of what we're left with.
Yep.
And you know, I don't know. I'm not ready to write things off just yet. Because another thing that could also happen, and it could be a slim possibility, is we get all this tariff stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say the inflation data doesn't change. Let's just say it stays the same. Nothing changes.
Yep.
That to me is a good thing.
Yep.
So, or if the tariff policy is short-lived, like people start coming to the table to negotiate and Trump gets what he wants. His bully tactics actually work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's only a 1 to 2 month issue that we have to deal with. So
Right. Right.
until we get clarity, like I said, it's a guessing game for anybody. So
That's a fact.
I would just leave it at that. But for right now, just you got to deal with the gyrations that we're gonna keep seeing. So
You gotta be out here just dealing with it, you know.
Yeah, got to deal with it.
Yeah. But,
So
but anyways,
don't
y'all, we
don't
went.
don't overstay your welcome in trades because I did that today. Paid the price. Paid the price.
Oh man. All right, y'all. Well, we went over a little bit today. The conversation was really good. But Wale, thank you for your insight on this week. But other than that, we'll see you guys on Friday to talk
Friday.
about how the week ended.
All right, everyone. Take care. Have a good rest of the week.
Yes, sir.